This is Not Just a podcast where we get to know the person behind the job title. I'm your host Amanda, and today we'll be speaking to Ash London, who has not only been a TV and radio host, but is a published author. You could say a jack of many trades. We chat about the writing process, packing up her and her family's life to move overseas, and how she tackles writer's block. I'm really looking forward to you hearing her outlook on tackling risks and how she manages that without having regrets. But like always, we'll be chatting about who she really is behind the job title. Let's get into it. Ash London, I am very excited to have you as a guest on the podcast. We have worked together and known each other for over 10 years. And we have gone on many a trip when we were in the music industry and you were working in radio, and we did Splendor in the Grass, and who could forget? And we had that wonderful Coachella trip planned before COVID came and ruined it for us.
That Coachella trip would have been good.
Would have been good.
But instead, me and Violet had babies instead. So not quite as rock and roll, to be honest.
Well, we're here to talk about you, wonderful lady, the woman of many trades. You've been TV host, radio host, author, radio host now in New Zealand, international radio host.
If it counts.
I was like, what do we choose for Not Just a? And I'm going to go with author because I want to delve into.
Thank you. That's so exciting.
Delve into the book. Yes.
Because I still really struggle, even though I've published a novel, I still really struggle with that title because I'm like, I'm not worthy of being an author. I'm just a person who wrote a book. But I think there is very real power in accepting that I wrote a book, so that makes me an author, which is such a fancy job title.
Yes, you are worthy, and it's amazing. And it's funny that, we're getting into this now because I actually was chatting with somebody else on the podcast the other week, and they were talking about how women feel like we've got that imposter syndrome and we're not worthy of things, and we need to really change that narrative. And, when you're chatting with your girlfriends, and if one of your girlfriends said to you, I'm feeling like I'm not worthy and I'm feeling like I shouldn't be doing this, you would go, no, babe, like you can absolutely smash it. You've got this. And it's like we have to change that internal dialogue.
We have to talk to ourselves the way we talk to our besties.
Yes.
My best friend could write like 2 sentences on the back of a milk carton and I'd be like, you're an author.
Yes.
You're amazing. But we're so much harder on ourselves. And I do often think about, so many of the men we inevitably meet in high-powered jobs in our careers. And before you meet them, you have this idea of them. And I say men because generally in our industry, my histories in most of the high-powered positions are taken by men.
Yes.
And then you meet them and you're like, you?
Yes.
You? All my girlfriends are smarter than you. So there's much to be learned.
Much to be learned. I'm with you. So let's get into it. Now, I wanted to start with who you were and what were you doing before you became an author?
Well,
and what was driving you?
When I started uni, it's so funny, I kind of came full circle. So when I went to university, I wanted to write films. I was going to be a screenwriter.
Love that.
And the whole audio medium in general was so lame to me. I was like, radio, no thanks, boring. I wouldn't even do the radio units in my degree. I was like, no, I will pay someone else in my group to do that. I'm just not interested unless it's visual. Yeah. So I always, I was like into movies and TV, and that was kind of what I always wanted to do. And I ended up hosting a TV show as my first kind of foray into media, a music TV show. And then radio accidentally found me. I was invited to kind of host a weekly radio show with Angus O'Loughlin, who we both know and love.
Yes.
And the bug got me very, very, very quickly. So the next kind of, I guess it would have been 10 years of my life was taken up with radio before I even started writing a book. So I was very much a radio host, but I think a really important thing happened in between, and that was that I was a mother. So I was a radio host who quit to have my baby, And while I was on maternity leave, I started this new chapter, pun intended, of authorhood. So I think if you were going to ask me before I was an author, who are you, what do you do? I would have said I'm a radio host who operates in the music world. And for like a decade of my life, I really dedicated my whole life to music entertainment and music content. And it was the best way to spend my 20s and early 30s.
Yes,
Because
agreed.
it was like we got the tail end of radio's glory years, like we did the last, we started this chat by saying that, the last thing we missed out on was Coachella. And I feel like that was the last Coachella trip for a while as the money dried up.
Why did COVID happen?
So rude.
So rude.
Mainly because of us not going to Coachella.
Yeah, exactly. We needed to maintain that status.
Rude.
And then what drove you? What was the driving factor behind writing a book?
Well, at the time, I honestly felt like the radio chapter was done. So I had dedicated my life and my identity really to being a broadcaster and a podcaster. So I'll say broadcaster because that was podcasting and I was radioing.
Yeah.
And so often as women, we're told that your work can't be your identity, but mine very much is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And a big middle finger to people who say, like, don't let your work be part of who you are or who you are. Well, no, yes, it is who I am. It's what I love to do. It's what I've spent all my time doing and working towards. Of course, it becomes part of my identity. And it can get problematic when that's all that you think you are, because you can have a job taken away from you at any point, and then who are you when it's gone?
Yes.
So I had very much thrown my whole life into radio, and then I found myself at home during COVID, pregnant, and missing my work, and I guess reflecting on the previous 10 years, because I'd never had a chance to reflect on it while I was doing it because I was so in it. And night radio especially is all consuming. Like, you're at work all the time. Like, if you have a 10 a.m. interview, and this was pre-COVID when we didn't do interviews from home, you would come in, but then the show's not on until 7 and I can't really be bothered going home. So I'm just going to spend the whole day at work. So I lived at 15/50 Goulburn Street, Sydney 2000 for a majority of my life. It was everything. And then all of a sudden I'm in this quiet home with no one calling or emailing and nothing to do but reflect. And I started realizing, wow, that was actually a really cool thing I did. Like, not everyone gets to travel the world and go to Europe for 2 days to interview a pop star, or like, that's not a normal life. And for my whole career, people had always asked me, like, what's it like? What's it like? What's Taylor Swift like? What's it like? What, like, all these questions. And you'd be the same, Amanda. Like, it's normal to you to meet pop stars, and you start to kind of, I don't know, not take it for granted, just see it as normal. So when all that reflecting, I had a real sense of pride about what I'd achieved. Like, man, I did a really cool thing. Like, I was a solo female doing a music radio show that was just about music. Like, there aren't any shows. Well, now that there are, thankfully. When I was doing it, there were no shows without a dude on them. Like, it was, it shouldn't be groundbreaking, but it was. So I was really proud. And as I reflected, I started to kind of write. And it was something I always knew I could do, and something I wanted to do, but I just never had the headspace or the time. And in radio, it's very immediate. It's instant gratification. It's turning around 3-4 hours of live content every day and then moving on to the next thing. But I wanted to embark on a long-term project to prove to myself that I could do it, because I think for so long I told myself I don't have the self-control or the discipline to actually get a book done. So I wanted to prove to myself, and also, like, prove to Buddy. Like, I don't know, I kind of loved the idea that I'd be able to bring a child into the world and bring a book into the world. And now he, like, oh my God, it's so cute. Like, we'll be in a shop and he'll say, that's Love on the Air. That's my mummy's book. And he wants to be an author now and be a writer. So,
it's the legacy as well
totally.
that you're leaving him.
And he is and his name is in the book. So like I gave the book to his kindy teachers. And the first thing he did was he grabbed it. Like I wasn't there. I'd gone and they told me. So he grabbed the book and he went to the end and he pointed to his name in the acknowledgements.
Oh, so sweet.
I know. So, I was so proud of myself that I really did it, because I think when you do something for so long, it's very easy to think this is all I can do. And how dare I think that I can, do something different. So, man, I'm so proud.
Yes. And Love on the Air, I'm sure you took many real life experiences. I feel when I was reading chapters, I was like, oh, is that person? And I mean, I don't want to name names.
Totally.
We'll keep that to ourselves.
It was like my homage to the industry. And we had a defamation lawyer that had to read through it at the end because, which is something I was like, oh shit. But what I tell people is when people ask this question, like what's real and like who's a real person and who's not. Yeah. The people that are real, I've kept their names. So like, Tom. Tom is Tom.
Love Tom.
Him. Yes. Yeah. That's him. He haven't changed his name because I've just written him as a character.
Yeah.
And Vanessa and Auntie May and Uncle Billy, they're all real. Everyone else is an amalgamation of different people, or even the main character, Alex. Like she started based on me, but, I've taken some liberties and I've turned her into a character. Yeah. And it was so wonderful to like write something that I knew so intimately, but get to just kind of build it into a magical world. Yeah. And it's been great for radio people as well to like read about radio, because it's not a glamorized industry. We read and we watch a lot of stuff about movie stars and actors, or even podcasting now, but I don't know, radio is still this kind of old school mysterious thing. So I think it was awesome to have radio stories told for radio people, because a lot of people like us kind of were like, oh, that's cool, I remember that feels right to me, and I love doing that.
Love that. And what was the process when you decided to write a book? Did you script it out first and like get the baseline of the plot and what you wanted to happen? And how long did it take you to fully finish it? Now, obviously, we are friends on Instagram, and I know that you traveled around Europe to write as well. So what was the thinking behind doing that?
Well, I thought I would, when I first I pitched the book to publishers on about a pitch of like 5,000 or 6,000 words. And it ended up being about 100,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much of the book was written. Yeah. And then I said, I can probably get it done in 3 months. And they were like, we'll give you a year. And I thought, a year? As if I'm going to need a year. I needed a year. So, because in that time, my child stopped being a blob and started being a child that actually needed parenting, as opposed to just sleeping on the floor all day.
Yeah, sleeping and eating.
2 months of his life,
Yeah.
It was a full year. And in that, I pretty much, so we got a nanny 3 days a week. And I had to have 2 of those days as like my work days that I would see as like my job is writing. Yeah. And I have to write today and I'm going to do it. Yeah. I didn't have the full story plotted out before I started, which is mental. Like who did I think I was? So I'm writing another.
But it's worked. It's worked.
I didn't even put a word on the page until I'd spent 2 or 3 months plotting.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really suit the way my brain works, to be honest. Well, I didn't think it did, because I'm very much just like, I'm creative, I'll just see where it takes me. Yeah. But not having a plan for the book meant that I ended up at one point ditching like 20,000 words or something.
Yeah, right, okay.
Which is all part of the process.
Yeah.
So it's a full year, and I handed in the manuscript after a year, and then they pretty much said to me, great, it'll probably be out in a year. I was like, what? Because they were like, well, now we edit. We do a structural edit, and then we do a copy edit, and then we do a proof edit, and then we do a marketing plan. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've gone from I have an idea, I put it on the radio that night and move on with my life, to I have an idea and in 2 years someone might read it. So it was a real exercise in delayed gratification, that is for sure, which was really good for me. And I really enjoyed the editing process. I'm really good with feedback. And I think when you're used to working with producers, and I think any good radio host knows how to take feedback and admit when others know better than them. And one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that most of the time, like, people know better than me. and I'm so much better if I put my ego aside and just like listen to some feedback.
Yeah.
So I love the editing process. And then when you hand the manuscript in, it goes to an editor and then it comes back, if you can imagine, 100,000 words in a Word document full of tracked changes, which could be very overwhelming for some people. And it was overwhelming, but I loved it. And that was the point that I said, should we just go to Europe for a couple of months? So if I'm going to do this editing, at least I can I don't know, be in Italy.
I love that.
So yeah, we did that. We packed up. We booked our flights and left 3 weeks later. We just, I spent a lot of time just sitting in old chateaus and cinemas in Florence and around Tuscany and Rome.
The dream.
Editing, writing the next book, just really kind of escaping from reality and the mundaneness of my life at the time. Because I think sometimes you just need a bit of that magic.
Yes.
And especially for creativity, I think changing up your surroundings, even if that means just going to the library or riding in the park, sometimes you really do just need to kind of get out of your head. Yeah. And for me and Adrian, travel is one of the pillars of our life. And I know it's the same for you guys. It's we work to earn money to travel. That's just
definitely
so important to us. And the world is so big, and we love Italy. We just keep going back to Italy. So I need to write a book in Italy. I don't believe I did it. Originally, that was the plan. Yeah, I had a full breakdown of a book that was about a kind of a movie star, reclusive movie star, in an Italian villa, which I may write one day. But no, didn't end up writing about Italy, but I wrote in Italy, and it was
beautiful,
so great.
Oh, I love that. I also think traveling, it just makes you so well-rounded and more educated and more understanding of people and cultures. And
I couldn't agree more. Travel is the thing I think that has made me who I am. And I wouldn't be as confident, as creative. I wouldn't be as understanding of people. And also I wouldn't have the perspective on life. Yes. And this idea that the world is very big, don't get caught up in your own stupid little life.
Agree.
That's come from travel.
Yeah, agree, 100%. So, who are you when nobody's watching? Tell us about the version of yourself that exists completely outside of work.
I'm silent and very quiet. And I just want to be alone. Yes. And I don't want to talk.
Yes.
And sometimes I just don't want to do anything. So I'm not an extrovert, and I don't enjoy being the center of attention. And I don't enjoy having noise. Yeah. And I think that is as a result of having to put on that mask. Not even a mask, because it is who I am. I am comfortable in those situations where I'm the one that has to set the tone and be the center of attention and, the life of the party. But as I've gotten older, that exhausts me so much.
Yes.
So the truest version of myself is the person that's sitting on the couch reading a book while my son, plays Lego at my feet, and my husband's tapping away at his laptop. Yeah, and we're not talking, we're just kind of existing.
Yes. Yeah.
That is,
you're just in the moment.
To me.
Yeah, in the moment. I think that there is definitely a big misconception around, people who need to be out there doing things like podcasts and on the radio, that they have to be extroverted, when there's so many people who are just true introverts, and they can do that, that's their work side, and then how they recharge is just sitting at home on the couch. Yes,
which is why I just never want to do anything.
Fair.
I look at Taylor Swift doing the Eras tour, and I'm like, the pressure. Going to someone's house for dinner, I'm like, the pressure, And
yes, you got to be on.
I've had to have some really tough conversations with Adrian, my husband, because I will often revert, at a dinner party, I will revert to work Ash, and it's almost like I start putting on this persona. I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell the funny stories, and I'm going to make everyone laugh, and I'm going to make sure there's no awkward silences, and it's exhausting, and it's exhausting for him because he's like, you don't have to be that person, like relax. So I'm learning those lessons as I get older to protect my peace. And at the moment I'm doing, I'm doing breakfast radio fill-in for 6 months, as well as my night show in New Zealand. I host a podcast for Mamma Mia every morning, and I'm doing my own podcast. That's 4 things a day that require me talking. So by the time I get home, I'm like, shut up, don't. And I often have to remind myself that I am a mother, and my son will need to speak to me. And if he cracks it, that's normal, and I need to let him crack it because he's 4 years old. And he didn't choose to have a mother who spoke all day. That's not his fault. That's my fault. So that can be tough.
Well, I wanted to ask, what's something you're deeply passionate about that would surprise people who only know you professionally?
I'm deeply passionate about the work. And I say the work in the sense that I have been seeing the same therapist, psychologist for nearly a decade consistently. And I am very spiritual, but not religious. And my inner spiritual life, I think, is one of the most important things I have, that I spend a lot of time thinking about and nurturing. And when you work in commercial radio, a lot of it is quite surface. We do get moments where we can have these great moments of connection. But I think whenever I do any sort of work that speaks to this idea of the inner work, that is what I get the most feedback out of. That's what people remember. Like, I remember over COVID, I did this thing on the radio called 3 Mindful Minutes, where my boss at the time said, Ash, we're not selling any ad space because the world's gone to shit. So what do you think about writing some meditations that we can just broadcast during the ad breaks? And I was like, whoa. Like, that's what happens when you have a female boss. You get to do cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that.
So none of us had any idea how that was going to go. But I wrote these kind of mindfulness meditations around things like joy and gratitude and, quiet and so many different things. And I would get literally hundreds of messages a day from people in their cars, at home, in tears, and I never got that reaction from any Taylor Swift interviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that planted a seed really early on that made me realize, like, people are really yearning for this, and they're yearning for it in a way that's like relatable and real, and not from some guru, but just from a person. And anytime I kind of engage in that sort of a work, it seems to be what I get the most feedback from. So
I love that. I feel that that's real, right? Like, this is what people don't want, that superficial stuff. They want it.
We need it sometimes. I read a lot of crappy romance books that are so superficial. And it's really great for my brain to just switch off. But what I really need is, those one-on-one conversations with, with friends or with mentors, or a good podcast or a good book or a good meditation session or a moment of silence, or the hour I spend talking to my psychologist. Like, that's the stuff that keeps my life moving forward and ensures that I'm evolving and I'm becoming a better person, not a worse person, as I get older, and I'm treating people better, and I'm having a better understanding of why I am the way I am. And, it's that I'm constantly asking myself, oh, where did that come from? Oh, why am I reacting like that? What's that about? Do I have the courage to scratch beneath the surface? Why am I offended? Why am I arcing up right now? Okay. When they said that, I interpreted it that way. Is that what that person meant? No. Am I making this about me? Yeah. Okay. I can get past that now. So I'm glad for it.
Yeah. Well, I think that just means that you're very self-aware, and I think that you have a very great self-concept.
I do. And I'm really proud to say that. Like, I'm the first to know when I'm acting out of a place of selfishness or insecurity. Yeah. And that can be exhausting sometimes. It means that I will often leave things and be like, oh, why were you like that? And sometimes I wish I could just be more ignorant and just assume that I was amazing. But the downside of doing all the work is that you do become very self-aware. But I like it.
I like it too. I think it makes us better people.
Totally. Absolutely.
So, Ash, if you could be known for something completely different than what you're known for now, what would that be?
I think the thing I'm working towards is I want to be known. I would love to be known as someone who helped people know themselves better, if you know what I mean.
I like that, yeah.
So many of us never really go on that journey because we don't know how. So I would love to be someone known for, like, yeah, Ash really helped me figure out why I am the way I am, or figure out, or be more grateful, or, you know, it sounds a bit like a bit of a hippie answer. I, of course, also want to be known as a really great mum. Like, I think I want Buddy to grow up and say that he was, you know, happy that he had the mum he had. Like, it's the most important job I'll ever have, and the most terrifying, and the job I'm the most ill prepared for. But hopefully...
Is anybody prepared for motherhood?
No, it's impossible. No. You cannot prepare. Whenever now someone like is pregnant and they ask for my advice, I'm like, I have no advice. I just don't know what I'm doing still. None of us do.
Yeah, we're doing life for the first time.
There's no, I read all the books. Trust me, Amanda. I read all the studies. I know the data. I know it all.
Yeah.
There's no way. You're going to suck. It's just how much are you going to suck? Try not to suck too much at it.
And to be able to reflect and go, you know what, I'm doing this for the first time. Not be too hard on yourself.
Totally. Absolutely. And I was so hard on myself. I really was. That first year, I didn't break a single rule.
Yeah.
I didn't. And as a result, I never once listened to my gut and trusted it, because I was like, oh, no. The experts say that baby needs A, B, and C. Whereas if I ever have another baby, I think I'll be way more low key about it, which everyone said would happen. And I was like, as if no, it won't. And now that I'm here, I'm like, oh yeah, I will never put myself through that sort of torture and those sorts of expectations ever again. Yeah.
Well, on that note, this brings me to my next question, because I wanted to ask, what's a lesson you've learned outside of work that actually made you better at your job? And the reason why I say that this links from what you're saying is that we've had a few parents on the show, and they have said that parenthood has taught them patience, it's taught them resilience, and they've really brought that into the workplace.
Absolutely, yes.
Would you agree?
I also think that one thing I've learnt, because I stepped out of radio and then stepped back into radio, right?
Yes.
Which I think every radio host needs to do if they want to continue working in radio. Otherwise, you become an asshole and you think the whole world revolves around you and your stupid little radio show, but no one cares. So the best thing for me to step out of it was to realize that the world is so much bigger than my career. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, there's more to life than what I do. I mean it in the sense that like, it's just radio. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I got to have this amazing outside perspective to it and realize that it's just a tiny little part of people's day. Sometimes it's 3 minutes of their day. Sometimes they listen for the whole show, but for the most part, they've got other stuff going on. So like, don't take it so seriously and don't care so much. So now that I've come back to radio, I have this renewed sense of like, this is the easiest, best job in the world. I have no reason to complain. Yeah. And like, don't take it so seriously. Like, people are poor and stressed, and they're like, mortgages are too expensive and groceries are too expensive, and they haven't got family around to help, and their relationships, like people, like life is really hard at the moment. So I get to go on a radio show and maybe make someone laugh for 2 minutes, or like distract them, or whatever it is. So I think leaving and coming back is so good, because it gave me a sense of perspective, but also a sense of gratitude that like I get paid to do this very easy thing that we like to be like, oh, being a radio host is hard work and blah, blah, blah. No, it isn't. Shut up. Like, hard work is stocking supermarket shelves, or being a nurse or a teacher. Like, that's hard work. Spending 3 hours talking about weird Reddit threads, or like Justin Bieber, or giving away money. Soz, but you're getting paid too much to do a very easy job. That's the reality of it. And I'll say that to any radio host in the world, and they even if they don't want to admit it, they will agree with me on the internet.
I would also just like to say, I think that you're very inspiring in the sense of you've changed careers and you've sold your house, and then you wrote a book, and then you lived in Europe for a few months, and then you've moved to New Zealand. And I think that that's so inspiring, because I feel that there's so many people in this world who think that, you know, they need to get married by a certain age and they have to buy the house, and then they have to live in the house, and then they have the one job, and then they stay in the one job, and we can't take risks, and I can't, you know, change paths. And I think that that is really hard for a lot of people. And I just want to say, I think that it's really inspiring that you've done so many different careers and moved different places. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have regrets, you know, and change. And it's also practice. It's something that I have done my whole life. It has always been how I've lived. As such, I've learnt the lesson that if you have the right attitude, and you have an attitude of, I don't mean to rhyme, it sounds lame, but if you are grateful and you have gratitude and you back yourself, you will end up where you're supposed to end up. Like, I don't believe anymore in looking back and having regrets, because we actually don't know how life would have turned out if we'd made another decision. So I could look at my life and go, why did I quit? I could have just gone on maternity leave, and then I would have come back to a really high paying radio job in a climate where no one has radio jobs. That would have been way better. Like, what was I thinking? Quitting and having a baby. And I did have that feeling for a while. I was like, it was regret. I was like, oh, I've made the wrong decision there. And then I read a great book called The Midnight Library, which I highly recommend.
Okay.
And it really did teach me that we can assume we know what would have happened if we'd made a different decision. But the reality is, if I had just taken maternity leave and gone back to work, who knows? I could have been hit by a bus on my way to my radio job. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is actually the truth. So I think we look back at the past and we romanticize making different decisions, assuming that life would have turned out better. But all we can do is make the decisions with the information we have in front of us. And that's what we do. Okay, well, right now, what's the best decision? We're going to move our whole family to New Zealand. And people might think that's crazy. And we didn't know if we were making the right decision, but we had to try, knowing that we would be okay. Me and Adrian, we love each other. We're committed to each other. Buddy will be safe and cared for. Really, nothing else matters. If it doesn't work out, we come home. But you have to take risks, because I do. The one thing I don't want is to look back on my life at my deathbed and go, what a boring ass life. I wish I'd taken more risks. At least now I know what could have happened, because I did it all.
Yes.
And Buddy's lived in 3 cities in 4 years and had 5 houses, and I'm so sick of moving and packing boxes. But it's kind of the life we've chosen. And for us, that's not the life for everybody. But for us, it works, and change is good and feels good for us.
Well, Ash, can you share a story from your work that perfectly captures how being fully yourself, not just the professional version, has made you successful?
I know that I am good to the people I work with.
Yeah.
And that's come from me doing the work. It's come from me having a life outside of radio and a real value on people and relationships. So doing that work outside and making that part of my identity, this idea that I want to be known as someone who people want to be around and people want to work with, and I want to place value on people's lives. That was always the priority for the people I worked with, and I really wanted, my producers to be happy. And there's been 1 or 2 times where I have failed at that, and I have let people down, and those experiences have stayed with me forever, and I still think about them every day with regret, but I had to learn a lesson from them. So I think I'm really proud that I created a culture of inclusivity and joy and gratitude. We're looking around, a lot of other people in my position maybe didn't do that and weren't able to do that because that just wasn't a priority for them. But I know that was really important for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to love the people I work with, and I want the people I work with to kind of feel that love. So I think, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I think I would 100% agree with that. Having worked with you for quite some time, I felt so comfortable coming into your studio. All of the artists we would bring forward, I knew that you would look after them and you treated them with care and respect. And it was just a fun place to be.
That's the idea. Like, if we can't enjoy the work we do, what's the point, right? Like, it's such a yucky feeling not enjoying your work, or like being in a room of people and not feeling like you can be yourself, or like you can speak up. Especially when you work in a creative environment, you need to create an environment where people can share their ideas and feel safe to do so. Definitely. And I've worked on shows that didn't feel like that, and it's the worst feeling in the world. And those shows will feel like they go for 10 years because it's just dragging on and it's just shitty. And I never wanted that. So, I never did it.
My next question is, what would people be most surprised to learn about what your job really involves day to day? And I feel like we've touched on that from like an author perspective and that. But what about radio and behind the scenes of that?
The planning and the sitting around.
Yeah, okay.
When you've got a full show to fill and the ideas aren't coming together. Yeah. That can be very frustrating, sitting there going, it's like a big jigsaw on the board. How are we going to fit this jigsaw together? Yes. And when you're in the flow and you've got good producers and it's working, that's great. But when it's not, and you're trying to be creative within the constraints of this matrix, it can be incredibly frustrating. So people think it's very glamorous, and there are definite glamorous parts of it. But as far as the actual day-to-day of getting that show to air, you don't see your friends because they're out, and they stop inviting you after a while because you're always at work. And your sleep schedule gets messed up because you're on air till 10 o'clock. So it takes you till midnight for your brain to turn off, and then you miss daylight, and you're always at work. So it's like, it's 5% insanely glamorous and 95% insanely not glamorous.
I also feel like forcing yourself to be creative is so hard as well. Like when you have those blocks and
it's the worst.
You walk into a meeting and it's like, oh, we've got to think of a creative idea, and then it's like every creative idea you've ever thought of just goes out of your mind.
And it's even worse when there's a client attached to it. And there's the constraints of, this is the client, they want something that fits this brief. What can you do that stays true to the essence of your show? And it's going to be good content, but it's also going to make the client happy. Wow, after a couple of years of that, I feel like you use every single possible radio concept that could possibly exist, you use. So still being able to come up with the ideas, but also kind of find the joy in it can be quite a trial, shall we say.
What do you do in those situations? Like, what do you do personally when you've got...
End the meeting and leave.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's like someone has to make the call of, we're not getting anywhere. Yeah. Can we just stop and go for a walk, go have a coffee? Because inevitably you'll think of the idea in the shower that night, or
100%.
So often, anyone that's worked with me will know this. Like, I've got 10 minutes, really. Once the meeting gets to a point where when we're repeating things or going in circles, we're done here. I'll just leave. Yeah. I'll just be like, I'm out, guys. See ya. And that's not in a rude way. That's in a, I respect my time and everyone else's time way. Yes. Let's all just come back to this, because I hate meetings. So boring. And once it gets to the point where we're just repeating ourselves or sitting there in silence and waiting, yuck, nothing good's coming from that, guys.
Fair. And did you get writer's block at all?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And then I would just have to do yoga or meditate or listen to Taylor Swift or just do something, but it had to be near my computer. Like I couldn't, I just had to think of other things that I know would help me. But you can't just sit there and stare at the computer or you go Coco Jumbo. You just have to trust the process. It will come. In the meantime, what can I do to be kind to myself or to relax or to do whatever I need to do to get to a place where my brain is ready for that? And you get pretty good at that.
Fair. Well, this brings me to my last question. And I feel like you've got many talents, but I wanted to know, what is your hidden talent, Ash London?
Is cooking a boring answer?
No, I don't think it's a boring answer.
I'm a really good cook, and I feel like I'm very confident in my ability to cook. Yeah, so great. I can go into any kitchen and see what's in there, and I can whip it up. And I'm a great cook. Nice. What else is a hidden talent?
Cookbook might be coming soon. Is this the
Because
exclusive?
my mom, when you know someone that's the best at something, like my mum is such a good cook that there's no world in which I think I deserve a cookbook when my mum exists in the world without a cookbook.
Oh,
you know what I mean? She's a freak. Like everything I learned from my mum, I learned from her
Yeah.
via osmosis.
Joint cookbook.
Like I moved out of the house having never cooked a thing in my life, but I like magically knew how to make all of this Lebanese food. And it just came to me like, you know, 'cause I just absorbed it from being around her. So my hidden talent is cooking. I can sing a bit. Like I'm pretty musical.
Yes.
But I'm surrounded because so many of my friends are incredible musicians. Like the cooking thing, I would never actually ever pursue that as a thing because I'm like, oh no, I know music. I know singers and musicians. I'm a 1%er and I enjoy doing it, and I can do it in the shower. And let me tell you, Amanda Vitucci, Buddy Ray Bryan is a little musical genius.
Well, we've got to get those music industry connections sorted for him.
Absolutely, but I also don't want him to be a child star. So
No, okay, fair. Maybe when he's like 18 or, you know.
We'll know when the time comes.
Yeah, we will. We will. Well, Ash London, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, mate. Look at you go. So cool to be on this side for once and have you. Usually you're standing behind the glass making sure I don't ask, you know, your famous artist an inappropriate question. This time you're asking the questions. I love it.
Hey guys, I'm Amanda, the host of Not Just A. This is a brand new podcast, so hit that like button, subscribe, feel free to share it with a friend. If you're loving the content, please feel free to drop us a comment. We'd love to know who you'd want to hear from in the Australian business scene behind the job title. Let us know.